Hey guys, Mark Rogers for Thomas Scott News here, just doing another news update. Had a couple interesting days in the news. Science news, NASA puts out a story about every hour. They now are thinking that alien life forms may not be silicone based, but may breathe iron. I wish I could get paid for making reports on what I think alien life may be. Anyways, alien life, Hawking, our dear famed speak and spell professor, is planning on working with a Russian rich guy. They're spending $100 million to send out 1 million little tiny probes to the closest star in hopes of finding said life that may or may not be silicone based and may or may not breathe iron. Interesting, and I wish, you could spend $100 million doing something really to help out this planet, because jeez, we got enough things to worry about down here. That's what they're searching for. The SpaceX mission finally delivered their Jupiter jump, and in doing so did the most incredible rocket takeoff and landing with a reusable rocket. That's right, they landed a pencil. It looked like this, coming in from outer space, and landed like that on a floating barge in rough seas in the middle of the ocean with no directional. How do you get anything to it? Beyond ludicrous, but believe it. That's what's going on, and they got their Jupiter jump up in the ISS. So glad they're happy. Can't wait to watch Tim Peake do it. The North Pole may be moving. Well, they've always said the North Pole is moving because they can't really tell us where the North Pole is, and they say it's geomagnetically shifting. Back in the 90s, they told us it was moving somewhere northwards of Alaska over towards Russia. Well, the report today says it's moving closer to London now. And it's all because of climate change. Get real, get over it, people. Open your eyes, read the news with just common sense. Common sense, and you can see what's going on in the news. It's right there. Climate change. There's also a big picture of all these walruses on this floating ice cap, and they're saying that's all our fault because these walruses are overcrowding. Could be there was a pod of orcas in the water and they didn't want to get eaten by a killer whale. Who knows? Ludicrous. Ludicrous. So that's the science news and climate change, and it's all our fault. And then, of course, Sarah Palin is supporting the anti-climate change movie coming out. Man, people, do your own research. Come to your own conclusions. Don't ever forget about the medieval warm period. If they ever try to tell you about global warming, global cooling, look into that. Medieval warm period. Pretty interesting. So, we have some news here. The Pope fired the trip planner that planned his meeting with Kim Davis. Of course, he accepts the resignation of that. Other religious or religiosity news. The Arches of Baal are now canceled. They're no longer going to put the Arches of Baal in Trafalgar Square and New York Times Square. They're going to put an Arc de Triomphe in London. Nothing in New York, but they may move the one from London, New York to display it once they get the big shebang over later. Well, that's fine. 2 down. Where were they going to build the other 98 supposed ones? People, it's still going to go on. They just can't quite brag about it on the front page of the New York Times yet. Okay. So, Baal arches are down, at least hopefully. We'll see. The other big news, man, China started some economic stuff not too long ago, and it's hitting hard. Austria is actually doing a bank bail-in, which way, why not call it a bailout? I mean, you're basically screwing everybody just like what happened with us. And it's just going to be a lot worse, but this is the first chain to fall. There's a lot of economic pressure in the EU right now with all the immigrant crisis. People, it's stacking up. It is stacking up so thick and so deep. China's rattling their sabers in the South China Seas. They're starting economic stuff. Europe's in a tragic mess with no money to get themselves out of it. We're mired in this war in Damascus where it's like Israel and US and Russia versus who? ludicrousness. Also in the Middle East, we have Egypt surrendering 2 of its sovereign islands over to Saudi Arabia, which is interesting. They've claimed ownership of the islands. It's been a disputed border dispute since 1300 AD, and they just kind of said, oh, here you go, thanks for all the economic surplus you guys have helped us out with after the revolution. So they just gave Saudi Arabia 2 of their islands. It's insane. But I mean, after we overthrew the true government and installed the military leaders, they're still being run by the army general. They don't have an elected leader in Egypt yet. And dude, Libya is a mess, and that's funny because Obama admitted that he thinks his biggest political mistake while in office was going into Libya prematurely. Not that he took out the best thing to ever happen to Africa and poisoned all the water and killed the #1 progressive place to live probably on the planet. Not that he apologized for taking out Gaddafi after Gaddafi was talking about the Illuminati and the false flag attacks at the UN. No, just that he didn't have a better setup for infrastructure after we assassinated everybody in leadership. So Libya is a mess, and that just really goes to show you guys, if that's his biggest political mistake, these people had free education, free college education, free health care, free housing. They were given subsidies for having a baby or becoming married as a new couple. I mean, it was probably the best run government. He was starting to really sell the oil, of course, off dollars. That's what got him killed. And he had the aquifer set up that would literally have flooded all of North Africa with more than enough drinking water to go around. And the UN goes in and wipes it with a bunch of depleted uranium bullets, and now drink it and your teeth will start glowing in the dark. Thank you, UN. These people try to live off the grid per se. I mean, and they had their own damn country. It's not our right to go into that country and do that. The people hate us for it. Do your research on Libya, folks. They loved Gaddafi because he did his people right. He took care of his people, man. Obviously, what do? If anybody wants to go start living off the grid here in the United States and grow your own food and not get vaccinated and not pay into health care and not use their roads and their streets and just live off the land and live off the grid, I want to bring you back to 1992. A little place called Ruby Ridge, Idaho, and a man called Randy Weaver. Folks, you need to look into this. They're some of the first patriots that said, screw this, did not send their kids to school. They were living off the land. What happened? A nosy neighbor noticed the kids were dirty. They sent DHS out. Later on, ATF came and raided them, killed half the 3 people. He's got a really sad story, man, and that was right before Waco, which, what did the Koresh people do? The Branch Davidian cult, yes. They had their own compound, yes. They were stockpiling weapons, yes. They weren't bothering anybody, man. Those rape trial charges were just so hokey and so set up and so fake. And who cares if they thought he was Jesus? I mean, yeah, I definitely don't believe that. But all they were doing was living on their own and making their own community. So, I mean, that's what it's all about, is we need to get off the grid. We need to plant our own food. We need to be self-sufficient. Now, they know that most quote-unquote hippie communes will fail because people are inherently lazy. Everybody wants the free love and the free weed, but nobody wants to go out and work at 5:30 in the morning until past dark to make it happen living off your own. We don't have the fortitude of our pioneer ancestors, and we definitely don't have any of the know-how or the connection to nature to be able to pull it off. And once you do, what happens? See how long before the government comes around and says, you all need to do this, you need to pay taxes, you need to do that. You're going to lose your land. And I mean, that's the bottom line. They will not let us get self-sufficient. Oh, well, we'll move somewhere else. Well, how about Libya? Good luck setting up a true financial democracy with any shred of power. Libya scared them to death, folks. That's why Gaddafi was taken out. The most important news story right there. That's Obama's biggest political regret, that he took out Libya prematurely. I think one of his other biggest mistakes was personally Obamacare, which, United Healthcare, one of the second largest providers of healthcare in the nation, pulled out on their promise to Obamacare because they finally see it's never going to be funded like Medicare, the subsidies that the government is supposed to pay for, that now they're docking our taxes for and requiring us to pay for. The subsidies from the government are not going to be paid for those underinsured clients. It's a joke. It was been a scam since the get-go. Folks, this is the news. April 12th. There's so much going on. Read between the lines. It's black and white. And bottom line, man, it's between you and God, Creator. Call it what you will. You better find your own connection and start paying attention. He'll guide you. All you have to do, seek, and ye shall find. I'm not going to tell you which direction to seek, but just please seek. It's all you and God. Nobody gets out of here alive. And just from all the chaos and the manufactured chaos in the world, my feeling is definitely time is short. Good luck. God bless. Love and light, folks.